There's a moment in every man's mind, a quiet, almost imperceptible moment, when something changes. When he stops seeing a woman as someone he likes and starts seeing her as someone he can't stop thinking about. Someone he feels drawn to. Someone whose presence hits differently, whose absence he actually feels, and whose energy lingers long after the conversation ends. But here's the truth most women never hear. Men don't obsess because of chemistry alone. They don't obsess because you're beautiful, or kind, or loyal, or low maintenance. They don't obsess because you gave more, tried harder, or waited longer. Obsession, real, genuine, long-lasting obsession, comes from something far deeper, far more internal, and far more powerful than anything physical or surface level. A man becomes obsessed when a woman triggers a shift inside him, a shift in how he sees himself around her, a shift in how he feels when he's with her, a shift in what she represents in his life. This isn't manipulation. It's not a game. It's a transformation she inspires simply by how she carries herself, what she stands for, and what she refuses to tolerate. Because the truth is, obsession doesn't begin with fireworks. It begins with impact, emotional impact, psychological impact, a sense of, I can't lose her mixed with, I want to be better because of her. This isn't about becoming a fantasy woman. This is about becoming a woman who reflects a man's deepest needs and highest standards back to him, without ever losing herself in the process. In this speech, we're going to break down exactly what creates that shift, 6 core dynamics that make a man realize he's not just interested, he's invested. He's not just attracted, he's captivated. He's not just chasing, he's choosing. This is how men obsess. When the right woman triggers the right shift, the identity shift she creates in him, a man becomes obsessed the moment a woman disrupts the identity he has always carried into relationships. Most men walk into dating with a quiet, unspoken confidence. I know how this goes. He assumes he understands the rhythm, the expectations, the patterns. He thinks he knows what a woman will tolerate, what she will chase, and how the dynamic will play out. Not because he's arrogant, but because he's used to a certain kind of response. Women who fall too quickly, who accept the bare minimum, who try to win him, who let him decide the pace, the depth, the direction. He has lived inside that identity for so long, he doesn't even realize he's performing it. But then he meets a woman who interrupts that script, not with attitude, not with games, not with emotional distance. She interrupts it with something far more powerful, a deeply rooted sense of self that instantly tells him, things won't go the way you expect here. She's warm, she's engaging, she's fun, but she's also immune to the usual shortcuts. His old identity, the one where he automatically feels in control, suddenly becomes unstable. She doesn't melt because he's charming. She doesn't rearrange her life because he's interested. She doesn't get impressed merely because he shows up. And that moment, where his predictability ends and her presence begins, is where obsession is born. When she speaks with intention. When she listens with curiosity, not desperation. When she gives from abundance, not fear. And when she pulls back, it's not to manipulate. It's because she values her own rhythm, her own peace, her own standards. He senses immediately that she is not auditioning for his approval. She is choosing, evaluating, observing. She is deciding whether he fits into the life she already loves, instead of trying to force herself into his. This creates a profound internal shift in him. Suddenly, he becomes aware of how he shows up. He pays attention to his words. He becomes conscious of his effort. He reflects on his behaviors, not because she demands it, but because her presence requires it. Her identity calls forth a different version of him, a better version. He starts asking himself questions he never asked before. Am I bringing enough? Does she enjoy me, or is she simply being polite? What do I need to do to stand out to her? Who do I need to be for someone like her? This is the identity shift, a psychological pivot, where he moves from expecting a woman to prove herself to wanting to become the kind of man she would choose. He realizes she is not operating from scarcity. She has options, not because she's trying to showcase them, but because the way she carries herself naturally attracts them. She's not intimidated by the process of getting to know someone. She's not in a hurry to secure a title. She's not afraid of walking away. Her life is already full, meaningful, beautiful, and a man can feel it. This awareness shakes him. It challenges the part of him that thought he could coast. It awakens the part of him that wants to rise. This identity shift is not about power. It's about perception. In his mind, she stops being just another woman he's talking to and becomes the woman I don't want to lose. She becomes someone he cannot categorize easily, someone he cannot predict, someone he cannot replace. And that psychological disruption is addictive. It keeps her in his mind even when she isn't present. It makes him think, reconsider, try harder. It makes him want to earn a position in her world rather than assume one. A man doesn't obsess because a woman is perfect. He obsesses because being around her forces him to confront the gap between the man he has been and the man he could be. She represents a new identity for him, one where he feels challenged, inspired, awake, alive. And once that shift happens, he can't go back to who he was before, because she didn't just catch his attention, she disrupted his identity. And that is the beginning of real obsession. She activates his emotional curiosity. A man becomes obsessed when a woman activates a part of him that most relationships never touch, his emotional curiosity. Not curiosity about her looks, her body, or her social status. That's shallow curiosity, and it fades as quickly as it arrives. Emotional curiosity is something deeper, something far more powerful. It's the feeling a man gets when he realizes, I can't quite figure her out, and I want to. Not because she is confusing or dramatic, but because she has layers that reveal themselves slowly, naturally, and authentically. She doesn't present everything about herself all at once, nor does she hide behind a mask. She allows him glimpses, real, warm, meaningful glimpses into who she is. And those glimpses make him lean forward, not backward. Most men are used to emotional predictability. They meet women who tell their whole story in the first week, women who reveal their needs, fears, insecurities, and expectations before a foundation exists. Women who rush intimacy through oversharing. Women who give emotional certainty before a man has invested anything. And certainty, while comforting, kills curiosity. When a man already knows the outcome, he stops exploring the journey. But emotional curiosity happens when a woman builds a balanced emotional presence. She is open, but she doesn't over-explain. She is expressive, but she doesn't dump her heart in his lap. She is genuine, but she doesn't reveal every detail of her life prematurely. She shares enough to invite connection, but not so much that she creates instant emotional exhaustion. This balanced mystery, this natural unfolding, activates something in him that says, I want to know more. I want to understand her. I want to discover the rest. It's not that she withholds, it's that she lives a life rich enough that it cannot be summed up in one conversation, one date, or one weekend together. She has passions he hasn't heard about yet. She has opinions he hasn't seen her express. She has boundaries he hasn't run into. She has confidence that isn't loud, but unmistakably present. Her life doesn't revolve around the interaction, and he can feel that. That subtle emotional independence creates a sense of depth he wasn't expecting. This emotional curiosity is also fueled by the way she listens. She asks thoughtful, intentional questions, not intrusive or interrogative, but questions that show she genuinely sees him. She isn't trying to impress him, she's trying to understand him. And that makes him want to open up more. Men are not used to being emotionally seen without being emotionally rushed. She does both effortlessly. She sees him, but she doesn't smother him. She notices him, but she doesn't cling. She appreciates him, but she doesn't pedestal him. This combination makes him feel comfortable and intrigued at the same time. Then there is her emotional energy, the calmness, the warmth, the intelligence behind her responses. She doesn't react from insecurity. She doesn't overinterpret. She doesn't assume the worst. Her emotional stability is captivating because it stands out in a world full of chaos. And when a man encounters a woman who isn't driven by fear or urgent expectations, something shifts inside him. She becomes someone he wants to understand more deeply, because her presence doesn't drain him, it grounds him. Curiosity also grows through contrast. Some days she is playful, other days thoughtful. Sometimes she jokes, and sometimes she speaks with profound emotional clarity. She has the ability to be soft without being fragile, confident without being intimidating, expressive without being chaotic. She is a spectrum, not a singular note. And that emotional range keeps him engaged, keeps him thinking, keeps him wondering, what else is there to her that I haven't seen yet? That is emotional curiosity, the feeling that she is both familiar and new at the same time. And once that switch flips inside him, he can't help but return. He wants to know her more. He wants to uncover each layer. He wants to understand her heart, her mind, her rhythm. And in that desire to understand, obsession begins. Because a woman who activates emotional curiosity doesn't just attract a man, she stays in his mind long after she's gone. She becomes a thought, a question, a mystery that feels worth solving, and that, more than anything, is what keeps him coming back. She balances warmth with boundaries. A man doesn't become obsessed with a woman who is only warm, nor does he obsess over a woman who is only distant. Strikes him to his core, what keeps him awake at night, what pulls him back even when he tries to detach, is the rare combination of a woman who embodies both warmth and boundaries in equal measure. This balance is magnetic because it speaks to two of the deepest emotional needs a man carries: the desire to feel accepted and the desire to feel challenged. Most relationships lean too far in one direction. Warmth without boundaries becomes overgiving, predictable, and eventually unappreciated. Boundaries without warmth feel cold, uninviting, and disconnected. But the woman who holds both qualities, soft but not weak, loving but not blind, open but not available to everyone, creates a dynamic that a man cannot easily walk away from. Her warmth is felt in the way she smiles when she sees him, the way she genuinely listens, the way she is present in a conversation. She isn't guarded or withholding affection, she gives enough to make him feel valued. She asks questions that show curiosity, laughs easily, and shows appreciation for his efforts. Her warmth makes him feel seen, welcomed, and comfortable being himself. But just when he begins to assume she will always be available or endlessly forgiving, he encounters something else in her, her boundaries. Her boundaries are not sharp or cruel, they are clear, confident, and calm. She doesn't raise her voice to be heard. She doesn't punish him to teach a lesson. She simply knows what she will and won't accept, and she communicates it through her actions more than her words. This balance creates a subtle but powerful shift inside him. Her warmth makes him want to come close. Her boundaries make him want to stay deserving of that closeness. He realizes he cannot coast with her. He cannot give half effort and expect full access. He cannot rely solely on his charm, compliments, or promises. With her, effort matters. Consistency matters. Integrity matters. She is the kind of woman who makes him want to step up, not because she demands it, but because her energy makes him feel that excellence is the standard. Her boundaries show in small, simple behaviors. She doesn't rush to respond when she is busy living her life. She doesn't rearrange her world for someone who hasn't earned that place. She doesn't tolerate last-minute plans, disrespect, or emotional laziness. She says no without guilt when something does not feel aligned with her values. She steps back from situations that disturb her peace. She doesn't explain these choices with long speeches. She simply lives in a way that communicates. My time and emotional energy matter. Her calm self-respect makes him think twice before taking her for granted. But her boundaries would mean little without the warmth that accompanies them. She isn't defensive. She isn't hard. She isn't punishing. When he shows effort, she acknowledges it. When he is vulnerable, she responds with empathy. When he tries, she meets him halfway. Her warmth rewards good behavior. Her boundaries discourage the opposite. This dynamic creates a healthy polarity, a pull and grounding effect that makes him feel emotionally alive. What fascinates him most is how effortlessly she holds this balance. She doesn't try to be warm, she simply is. She doesn't try to enforce boundaries, they are a natural extension of her self-worth. She doesn't try to impress him, she invites him into her world without losing herself in his. This is new for him, different from what he's used to. And because men value what they earn, her combination of warmth and standards makes him feel he's genuinely working towards something meaningful. He doesn't obsess because she is unavailable. He obsesses because her availability is something he must continuously honor. This balance of warmth and boundaries becomes the emotional environment where a man's attraction deepens into commitment. She makes him feel good, but she also makes him grow. And that unusual combination is what keeps her on his mind long after he leaves, reminding him that someone like her is rare, and losing her would be a mistake he would not easily recover from. She stays rooted in her own life. A man becomes genuinely obsessed, not with a woman who orbits around him, but with a woman who remains deeply rooted in her own life, her own rhythm, her own identity. This is the kind of woman who doesn't disappear into a relationship, doesn't abandon her passions, doesn't dilute her purpose, and doesn't shrink her world just to fit into his. She lives her life with a sense of direction and fulfillment that existed long before he arrived, and will continue long after. And that quiet, unshakable independence becomes one of the most intoxicating forces a man can experience. When a woman is rooted in her own life, she brings a sense of emotional richness to the table. Her days are full, not with chaos, but with meaning. She has goals she is actively pursuing, friendships she nourishes, hobbies that energize her, routines that ground her. She has a sense of identity that isn't dependent on how much attention he gives, how quickly he texts back, or what future he promises. Her self-esteem doesn't hinge on the relationship. It's built from years of investing in herself. And this creates a dynamic where she is with him not out of need, but out of genuine desire. That difference is magnetic to a man. A man can feel when a woman's life is expansive. He senses it in the way she talks about her ambitions, the glow she has when describing something she loves, the confidence she radiates when she speaks about her plans. He notices that her world is not small, not something he can simply step in and dominate. Instead, he realizes he must earn a place within it. That awakening shifts something in him. She becomes someone he admires, someone he respects, someone he wants to keep up with. He no longer sees her as an accessory to his journey, but as a woman walking her own path, one he hopes he's worthy of joining. Her rootedness doesn't come from being unavailable or distant. It comes from having a life that matters to her. She isn't waiting for him to call. She's already immersed in something fulfilling. She doesn't cancel plans just because he's suddenly free. She has commitments she honors. She doesn't let her emotional state swing wildly based on his behavior. She has internal stability built from purpose and self-respect. This steadiness isn't coldness, it's maturity. And it makes a man feel something rare, that she is a woman who can enhance his life, not one who is depending on him to survive it. What draws him even more is the way she includes him in her life, not as its center, but as a meaningful addition. She shares pieces of her world with him, her passions, her routines, her dreams. She invites him to show up with her not as her savior, but as her partner. And because she is secure in herself, she never fears that his success or attention elsewhere will diminish her worth. She celebrates his independence just as she honors her own. This emotional maturity builds trust, a trust rooted in mutual respect rather than dependency. A woman rooted in her own life also inspires him. She becomes a mirror that reflects his potential, reminding him that there is more he could be, more he could reach for, more he could grow into. Her ambition doesn't intimidate him, it challenges him. Her discipline doesn't push him away, it motivates him. Her fulfillment doesn't make him feel unnecessary, it makes him feel grateful that she chooses him despite not needing him. What ultimately creates obsession is the energy she carries, the energy of a woman who loves without losing herself, who gives without overextending, who connects without clinging. She is present, but not dependent. She is loving, but not self-sacrificing. She is emotionally available, but not emotionally consumed. And this balance is rare. Most men, when they encounter a woman like this, feel an immediate shift. She is not someone they want to keep temporarily. She is someone they want to build with, grow with, and rise to meet. Because a woman who is rooted in her own life becomes unforgettable. She leaves an imprint, not just on his heart, but on his identity. She makes him realize that being with her is a privilege, that losing her would be a loss he would carry for a long time, and that her life is something he wants to be part of, not something he wants to take over. And that awareness is what makes him obsessed, invested, and profoundly connected. She triggers his desire to give, not just receive. A man becomes obsessed with a woman when something inside him shifts from wanting to receive her energy to wanting to give to her. Most women never experience this version of a man. The version who shows up consistently, who invests without being pushed, who contributes emotionally and practically, who wants to make her life better. But the reason many women never get this version of a man is simple. They trigger his desire to take, not his desire to give. A man who only receives stays comfortable. But a man who begins to give becomes emotionally attached. And a man who becomes emotionally attached becomes invested on a level he does not easily walk away from. So how does a woman trigger this shift? Not through pressure, not through demands, not through proving her worth. She triggers his desire to give by showing him, through her behavior, her standards, and her energy, that she is a woman worth giving to. She is not impressed by the bare minimum. She is not mesmerized by breadcrumbs. She doesn't fall apart over temporary attention. She has an internal sense of value that silently communicates, if you want space in my life, you must contribute something meaningful to it. Her worth is not loud, but it is unmistakable. And that sense of worth awakens the giver in a man. When he realizes she appreciates effort more than charm, generosity more than promises, consistency more than intensity, he feels compelled to show up differently. He starts paying attention to details. He remembers what she said. He checks on her day. He asks what she needs. He initiates plans. He listens more deeply. Not because she begs, nags, or manipulates, but because being around her makes him want to put in the effort. A man naturally invests where he feels his effort has impact, where his presence matters, where he feels his actions are received with gratitude, not expectation. This is the emotional environment she creates, one where his strengths can be expressed, where his masculinity is appreciated, where his contributions feel meaningful. She does not diminish him by doing everything herself just to look independent. She doesn't hide her needs to appear low maintenance. She allows him to give, but she does so without relying on him for her happiness. This delicate balance, self-sufficient yet receptive, creates a powerful magnetism. He feels useful, valued, and connected. And when a man feels emotionally useful, he becomes emotionally invested. What makes her unforgettable is not that she demands gifts or grand gestures. It's that she genuinely values the small, thoughtful ways a man tries to support her. She doesn't overlook them. She doesn't act entitled. She doesn't take them for granted. Her appreciation makes him feel significant. Her gratitude makes him feel seen. Her warm response to his efforts reinforces his desire to keep giving. And the more he gives, the more emotionally bonded he becomes. She also triggers his desire to give by having a life he wants to be part of. Her ambition inspires him. Her discipline challenges him. Her joy lifts him. He wants to contribute to that energy because it feels good to be near it. She isn't chaotic or draining. She's a source of emotional stability and motivation. Instead of pulling from him, she pulls the best out of him. She doesn't diminish his identity. She expands it. She doesn't weaken him. She strengthens him. And that experience is rare for most men. When a man feels he is becoming a better version of himself around a woman, he naturally starts to protect that connection. He invests in it. He nurtures it. He prioritizes it. Giving becomes his instinct, not his obligation. He begins to do things he's never done in previous relationships, not because she's different on the surface, but because she makes him feel different internally. He feels safe to give, inspired to give, and proud to give. This internal shift from receiving to giving is what marks the transition from attraction to attachment, from interest to devotion, from curiosity to obsession. Because a man only becomes deeply emotionally tied to a woman when he is actively investing in her. Investment creates value. Value creates attachment. Attachment creates obsession. And when she triggers that desire within him, he doesn't just want her. He wants to show up for her. He wants to be the man who matches her energy, protects her peace, supports her growth, and enhances her world. Not because she asks him to, but because his heart won't let him do anything less. She creates emotional safety, not emotional chaos. A man becomes obsessed with a woman not because she overwhelms his emotions, but because she steadies them. Not because she keeps him guessing, but because she allows him to feel something he rarely experiences in dating today: emotional safety. Many people misunderstand what emotional safety means. They think it's softness, or passivity, or letting things slide. But emotional safety is not weakness. Emotional safety is clarity. It is steadiness. It is maturity. It is the calm confidence that says, you can be honest with me and the world won't fall apart. Most men have known emotional chaos. They've experienced conversations that escalate quickly. They've had partners who interpret everything through insecurity. They've been punished for small mistakes, blamed for past wounds, and pulled into cycles of drama that make love feel heavy. Men do not obsess over chaos. They run from it. Chaos drains a man emotionally, and drained men distance themselves. But a woman who creates emotional safety does the opposite. She draws him closer. She makes him relax. She makes him open. She makes him breathe again. Emotional safety begins with her emotional self-control. She doesn't explode when she feels something. She communicates calmly. She pauses before reacting. She thinks before assuming. She chooses clarity over confrontation. When something bothers her, she doesn't weaponize silence or anger. She expresses herself with honesty and composure. This steadiness is powerful because it tells him she is not governed by impulse or fear. She is a woman capable of emotional discipline, something many men rarely encounter. She also listens in a way that makes him feel understood rather than judged. When he shares something personal, she doesn't turn it against him. She doesn't mock him. She doesn't dismiss him. She doesn't make him feel weak for having feelings. Instead, she listens with genuine curiosity. She tries to understand his perspective. She validates the emotion, even if she doesn't agree with the conclusion. Her presence makes him feel safe enough to open up, a feeling that is rare and deeply intimate for a man. But emotional safety doesn't mean she accepts everything blindly. She still has boundaries. She still holds him accountable. The difference is that she does so with calm leadership instead of emotional volatility. If he crosses a line, she addresses it clearly and respectfully. If something needs to change, she communicates it directly and compassionately. There's no shouting, no chaos, no emotional punishment, just honest connection and mature dialogue. That combination of boundaries and kindness makes him feel both respected and responsible. Another aspect of emotional safety is predictability, not in a boring sense, but in a trustworthy one. He knows where he stands with her. She doesn't give affection one day and withdraw it the next. She doesn't play games with his emotions. She doesn't create uncertainty to make him chase. He doesn't have to decode her. Her consistency becomes a psychological anchor for him. In a world where many relationships feel unstable, her steadiness becomes the thing he holds on to. Her emotional safety also shows in the way she manages conflict. She doesn't avoid difficult conversations, but she approaches them with empathy instead of accusation. She tries to solve problems instead of escalating them. This makes him realize something profound. With her, conflict doesn't destroy the connection, it strengthens it. That feeling is rare. And because it's rare, he values it deeply. She creates emotional safety by being someone he can trust with his truth, his fears, his insecurities, his dreams, his failures, his frustrations. She doesn't expose them. She doesn't misuse them. She doesn't label him as weak. Instead, she becomes the one person in his life where he can finally put the armor down. That is the kind of intimacy men don't talk about but crave intensely. A man becomes obsessed with the woman who gives him peace, not because she avoids emotions, but because she manages them with strength and grace. She's not chaotic. She is not unpredictable. She is not emotionally demanding. She is solid. She is centered. She is safe. And the truth is simple. When a man finds peace in a woman, he refuses to lose her. Because emotional chaos makes him distant, but emotional safety makes him devoted. Final message: the shift that makes him obsess. In the end, the moment a man truly becomes obsessed isn't when you try harder, give more, chase more, or bend yourself into a shape that fits his convenience. The shift happens the second you shift. The second you decide that your life, your peace, and your standards are not negotiable. Because obsession doesn't grow in a woman who is available to everything. It grows in a woman who is aligned with herself. A man becomes obsessed when he realizes that your presence adds value, but your absence has weight. He becomes obsessed when he sees that you're warm but not aimless, loving but not lost, available but not waiting in the shadows for him to choose you. He becomes obsessed when he starts to understand that you are not a prize to be won once, but a woman he must continue to show up for. The shift is internal. It's the moment you stop trying to impress him and start impressing yourself. When you stop shrinking your needs to protect his comfort. When you stop giving him emotional access he hasn't earned. When you stop using potential as proof. When a woman stands in this kind of grounded self-worth, something profound happens. His attraction becomes pursuit, his interest becomes consistency, and his desire becomes investment. He's no longer obsessed with just having you. He's obsessed with keeping the connection alive. The shift that makes a man obsess is the shift where you finally remember who the hell you are and require him to rise to meet that woman.